All right. Good morning. It's early morning for me. I don't know what time it is for you, but I'm a morning person, so I really I enjoy these morning streams. How are you doing? Say hi in chat, and let's see who's here this beautiful morning. I learned in yesterday's stream, I learned that people just open the stream to listen to the sound of my voice and then work with me on the second monitor or just minimize. It all works fine. Good morning, Samuel. Glad you're here. It's all fine. It's all fine. We're gonna do some cool things today. You know, I prepared these streams a little bit the day beforehand, and so I had to hold off on coding until this stream, which I was a bit difficult because I wanted to tackle some things, but we're finally here. I do also want to take a look at some interesting blog posts I came across actually, and let's see here. Yeah, you know, interesting things being written in the PHP community the past week or something, and I yeah, I wanted to take a look to start with at these blog posts. So basically that's what I want to do. Actually, I want to start with a video here. I watched it yesterday. Let me share my screen here. You need to check out this video after the stream. It's really good. So here's this. He's actually he lives in Belgium, and I sent him an email yesterday saying how cool this video was. This is this kind of video where you know, people, like someone just builds something epic and then walks through it in 15 minutes, and not diving too deep into the code, but just explaining how it works on a high level. And it's really good. It is, yeah, it blew my mind. He made like a fully automated generator for TikTok videos using several AI services and bundling it all together in PHP. Kind of similar to, well, not kind of similar. He did a way better job than me, but I did something similar a year or so ago. Let's see here. AI, yeah, this video converter thingy, yeah, a year ago, and it was a really fun project. So yeah, it's nice to see that he's taking it to the next level, and it's really cool. So I highly recommend watching it. All the links, by the way, you can find them on Aggregate. This is my my open source like RSS feed basically, so you can find them there if you want to, or you can just search for it, pause the stream, but don't leave the stream, stay here and watch it afterwards. But yeah, really cool video. The next thing I wanted to talk about, this came in yesterday, right? Private packages is joining the open source pledge, and didn't know this was the thing, so I learned about it, and it's really cool. Just a short blog post here, but Nils is basically announcing that Packages is joining the open source pledge because our business is built on and with open source software. We will spend at least 2K per full-time developer on open source projects and maintainers. That's really cool. Sentry launched this initiative after a 500K distribution across their open source dependencies, and others followed. That is really nice, and this needs to happen more. Like, open source is severely underfunded. When you think about, like, we looked at Laravel yesterday. The only way Laravel manages to be this big is because they have paid products, and it's really interesting how Taylor managed to, like, he created Forge, right, years ago, and this was a paid service for his open source framework, and it's marketing genius the way he did this, and the way Laravel is still doing it today, because if they weren't able to, like, have paid products, it would never work. But it's crazy because, like, the amount of open source code we're using without paying for it, that's insane. So I think this is a good thing. You could also, of course, make the argument the other way around. I've seen people do this, that, yeah, but if it was paid, it wouldn't be used as much, so it would have never been as successful. Which, yeah, it's kind of chicken and the egg problem, right? But I really think if you're a company making money with open source code on a regular basis, I think it's a really good idea to pay a little bit back to the community. So so this is a really nice initiative. I also shared it on the PHP subreddit just now, because I think, yeah, we need to be more aware of this. And like, to be clear, this has nothing to do with personal, like on a personal level. This responsibility, in my opinion at least, lies with companies. Companies are making money, and my guess is that 2K per full-time developer isn't like, they can manage this, right? They are making enough money using open source, so it makes sense that they are paying a little bit back. So yeah, there's this table in at the end of the article. In 2023, they gave like these numbers to these projects. So the PHP Foundation, biggest part, makes total sense, right? Symfony as well, PHP Stan, that's a good one. Xdebug, also good. And then 2 other smaller ones. But yeah, that's really nice. So I think it's great that Nils has written this blog post now. And you know that he's creating some awareness about it. And yeah, more companies need to do this. So share this post with your manager or your boss, I don't know. And you know, let's make open source better. I think it's really nice. This was a nice article I read a week or so ago. Really simple, but yeah, it makes sense. The first useful test is empty. Just the fact that this is Liam's blog, right? Yeah. Just the fact that a test runs means that your framework is able to boot, even though the test doesn't test anything. The second test should probably be a GET request to your homepage or something like that, like very high level testing. And I really like that idea. It's nothing really new, but it's a good reminder. Like high level tests offer so much value. You really can't do without. And like it's really easy to just write a couple of tests and to get so much like certainty already from them that it is. This is a good reminder. So if you aren't writing tests yet, but we learned yesterday from the Laravel survey, right? Like, let's check here, tests. Like, people are doing more and more testing within the Laravel community, but still 30% aren't doing anything. And I think, let's check here, JetBrains ecosystem. Let's compare it to like broader than the Laravel community. PHP over here, tests. Yeah, okay, so it's split here in oh yeah, over here is the 31% of developers don't write tests for PHP. That's kind of like this, exactly the same as the Laravel the Laravel survey showed. So interesting. That number will of course be higher, is my guess in reality. But still, it's a good thing, and it doesn't have to be super complicated. I would make the case that like very clean and small unit tests have their place as well, but just start with a couple integration tests, and it's gonna give you so much value. It really is. The next one. This one I haven't read yet, but I wanted to read it together with you because it kind of triggered me. Good naming convention for routes, controllers, and templates. And they say this is like the most difficult problem in programming, right? Naming. So I have a couple of opinions on the topic, and I'm curious to see where this post is going. It's pretty short, so I figured let's read through it together and see what it has to offer, right? Let me grab some to drink here. By the way, good morning, Hun Crazy. Glad you're here. And Yeah, let's check it out here. So, cet article est aussi disponible. Oh yeah, let's not read the French part. I've had my fair share of web projects during my career, and with experience building up, I'm increasingly pushing for coding standards, conventions, and naming precision in my code reviews. Good thing. A badly named service, a variable giving no clue, a namespace that makes no sense, multiple names for the same concept. It all makes reading code harder and demands great cognitive effort that I suppose he means cannot afford here. That's called visual depth. Oh, I've written a blog post about that. I've written many blog posts about visual depth. And I agree with him, by the way. This is the true visual depth. This is visual... Yeah, I call it visual perception of code. But like there was this video once by Jeffrey Way. And like I'm really thankful that he made it. But I so did not agree with it, where he said that using types and stuff like that is visual depth. But no, using unclear names, weird variables that aren't clear what they are doing, stuff like that, that's real visual depth. So let's continue to read here. Today I want to write about the naming involved in a standard route controller template web frameworks. Examples will be Symfony, but this applies to Laravel, Django, and we happen to write a framework here as well, so maybe we will learn a thing or two about it. Consider this. We need to display a list of products on /products. We need to display one product on products queue. We use an MVC framework. Sure. Now, what names should we use for the route name, the string we can use to generate the URL to our pages? I already have an opinion about that, but I'll hold off. The controller and action classes and methods, the template or view files. Okay, so frameworks let us choose, and when we leave something to appreciation, it can become messy very fast. Yeah. By the way, let's check here. Like, I don't even really know what I do. Let's open the Tempest docs. And like, there's only one control here, but the docs. No, there are a couple of controllers. So this is just the home, like the root of the website, and I tend to call these methods home. I don't know why. I could also call them index, but I could also make another controller, home controller, and have an index method there. Or I could have only invocable controllers, which I do like it. You have one class per route, but yeah, it's also like in practice it becomes pretty messy pretty quickly. But like this controller action and this has nothing to do with each other. They're just grouped together. I actually don't know why. Just laziness, I guess. So, and then there's the show, and I know like Laravel CRUD controller, CRUD by design, right? There are these. Oh yeah, these are them: index, create, store, show, edit, update, and destroy. I don't think these are like golden standard or anything. Just someone came up with it, and it makes sense to have some kind of like convention for it. So Laravel started to follow it, but yeah. Anyway, the mess we are allowed to make. I've seen everything. Let's look at one bad example. So we have our app controller extending from XM controller. Oh, extending. Ugh. It's already complete poop, but I like that he's using route attributes here. I don't know. Is this is Symfony, right? Yeah. So yeah, /products, and it has a name. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna hold off on the name part until we've seen some more code. So okay, list products is the method name, and then we render product list.html.twig. Okay, so the app controller has a all products route, snake case, right, attached to a list products action, rendering a product/list.html template. My eyes are bleeding. Another naming I see really often is to have one template folder per action, like this, list products index.html, yeah. we have so many index.html twig. Yeah. So this is a good problem, that we never search our templates by names anymore. And if multiple controllers have the same action names, well, you can also struggle in your code editor with all the open files having the same name. True. Thanks to PHP Storm being clever about that, it adds the folder name. Yeah, but it's still, let's see if I can, like, let's just create in index.html here, and then here as well, index.html. So front dash index and chapters dash index. That's what he's saying. But still, I agree. This really sucks. This, yeah, is far from ideal. Now, what I suggest in my projects is to have consistent naming like this. The controller is named according to the business. It can be namespaced and generally only consists of singular nouns and Pascal case. The action named is named according to what it does, a verb in camel case. We also try to use consistent names across different controllers. The route name is a concatenation of controller name and action name transformed in snake case. The templates folder is the controller name in snake case, and the template's name is the action name in snake case. Okay, so the templates folder maps to the controller name and the template name maps to the action name. That's a good symmetry, I think. What I'm still wondering about, why do we even make a difference between snake case and camel case? It feels like, okay, we're using camel case for PHP code, and then we're using snake case for templates, which is, okay, if you're using Twig, it's not, but it's kind of PHP code, right? So, like, to me, snake case feels like a little less important, right? Why? I would even say that snake case makes code much more readable. I also wrote a blog post about it. Snake casing. Have you thought about casing? Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So this was his blog post, and it was kind of meant to show how camel case isn't all that readable. So let's uncamelite. And yeah, I think I was making the case for more snake case actually, and no one can tell, right? Why are controllers Pascal case? Why are they why are method names camel case? No one knows. It's a convention, right? I know it's PSR convention, and it's something that kind of happened, but we just, yeah, there's no like real reason for it. So okay, but I think, even though I might do a couple of things differently than what he's describing here, I think the good thing is to find a consistent like set of rules, and to have everyone within your company or on the project comply to those rules. That's the most important thing, because otherwise you just have very confusing code, right? So that way, I know I'm looking at templates. I know I'm looking at which controller they are used. Also, when I'm looking at a route name, I know instantly what controller they invoke. So that's like the argument for differentiating, right, between snake case and camel case and Pascal case. But it doesn't really work, because there's already snake case for templates and for route names. And the thing is, like, you don't differentiate by name. I would say you don't do that. You do that by looking at the context. When you know that, for example, you're here in this method, you know that this is a template file. You also know it because it has .html.twig at the end. When you have a route name, you know that because you're using this name within like some kind of, I don't know how it works in Symfony, but like a URI generator or route function or something. You look at the context. Like in the name itself, it doesn't really matter all that much, but it feels more natural. So recommendations. I'm using snake case for my templates to also. Just side note, why do we have the tendency to, whenever we write snake case, camel case, Pascal case, to write it in that case? So I would really like to start it. Oh, what would people do if I wrote it like this? Yeah. That's just a side note. The more so snake case to follow Symfony recommendations. There are recommendations, right? But the more I think about it, the more I want to get rid of those transformations. Oh, thank you. Okay, you're making my argument between the camel case of the action and the snake case of the template. So this can be simpler, easier to use. What do you think? Yes, I like this. I think this makes more sense, honestly, because like the argument that I made previously is it doesn't really matter the difference, right? You don't differentiate just by the name. You differentiate because of the context. Another transformation we do is on the route name. From product and add cart, we create product add to cart. Yeah, right. But most frameworks allow any strings as route names. Maybe we could use product add to cart. I don't like it visually, but hey, it's simpler to write. Yeah, okay. And so my note on route names, don't use route names anymore. Just reference the controller. It's so much easier. Let's see where I have an example here. URI. Just reference the controller as an invocable, and you have like auto completion on this because like this is official PHP syntax. You can reference a class and a method name in an array and it becomes an invocable. PHP is weird, but that's just yeah, part, I guess, of PHP. So you get auto completion here. There is no good argument to make for route names. Like, we shouldn't do this anymore because like it adds more problems. Like, just get rid of it. You get auto completion automatically, and you don't have to worry about naming conventions in route names because there are no route names. Okay. Oh, he's also going to talk about the invoke like ADR pattern. Cool. In the Symfony community, this pattern is quite common. And so these are single action controllers, right? A fun side effect is that the route name can be self-class directly, the fully qualified class name of the controller. Yeah, so this is a good like advantage. You can write it like this when classes are invocable, right? Making it even more simple, but like the downside is a lot more classes, a lot more files. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I like this in theory, but then in real projects with hundreds of controller files, thousands even. Let me actually check here. I once wrote I wrote a blog post about everything apparently, but Spatie project at Spatie here. Let's see. Did I have some numbers here? This was, yeah, okay. And this was at that time a small project, well, a moderate project, but like 309 routes spread across 130 classes for controllers. Yeah, so if you were to have a single controller action for every route, that would be like almost 3 times the amount of files for controllers. Again, don't know how I feel about it. I like this in theory, but in practice it's just So yeah, this allows us to generate URLs like this. Yeah. So what about you? I need to know if we can find a good convention. I'm not saying this one is the perfect one. Any convention is good as if it's applied everywhere and enforced. Hey, he's making great points here. Yeah, just settle on something that works for your team. But I would say think about it a little bit, right? And I would also say don't blindly follow what the framework or like the fig is telling you to do, because that it's also just an opinion, right? So I really think this is it's good what they did here. If like the whole team agrees with it and they enforce this in their whole code base, this is great. They took a recommendation, they thought about it critically and said, no, let's don't do this. Like, we don't agree with this opinion pushed by the recommendation, but in fact it's just a couple of people having decided this is the best way to do it. Anyway, let's not dive into the fig rabbit hole. Please let me know, do you have a convention? What are you using? Are you happy with it? Let me know. Next time we should talk about commands, aliases versus class names and namespace convention. Interesting. So yeah, this was a good blog post, right? A good morning unknown to you as well. I like this. And thinking about it, like I am kind of happy with what I'm doing. Actually, I wonder, like, my view files, are they camel cased? Yeah, they're just camel cased. They just follow like the same casing as action names. So that's one thing. What I struggle with the most, and I don't know if this is the same for you, but it's coming up with good names. Like, the conventions are pretty clear to me, for me personally, for my projects, but good names. Like, for example, here, thinking about this should be in the home controller, probably an invocable action, right? Because it has nothing to do with the docs controller. Then we can make this show method invocable as well. I guess what where I'm getting at is that it's easier to have invocable controllers because there's only one name you need to think about instead of two. That's already a benefit. Actually, let's refactor this. Why not? Another thing that's still unclear to me, like with Tempest, you don't really care about your, well, no, the framework doesn't force you to have a fixed structure, so I'm not really sure how I want to structure it. Like, for example, I was experimenting here with keeping my views and my CSS together with my front-end code, like the controllers, basically, which I can do because, like, my controllers, they don't really do any logic. I use action classes for that, if needed, which for the doc side it's not needed. But yeah, let's refactor this for a second. So let's say home. I do like to have a separate directory for every concept. So let's say home controller and make it invocable, and then we basically just copy this to here, and then like so, but this we need to refactor, and actually we're gonna make this one invocable as well, like so. Hang on a second, actually need to check. Okay, there's only one place where it's referenced. Invoke, like so, and now we can reference it like docs controller class. That's better, I feel. Let's see if it works. Tempest docs. Oh, it doesn't. Oh, this is, by the way, something we'll work on as well. Where is that? Yeah, because this error just it sucks. Functions chapter. Oh yeah, chapter. Yeah, over here is still a reference to show. Okay, so if we go to our home, we get redirected. Yeah. Okay. Let's quickly commit that. Refactor. It's clear enough, right? And then let's deploy it. Like so. Uh-oh. Is it broken? Oh, it is. Oh, there's something else. Why didn't that work? Let's see here. Static page discovery. Is this something with caching? But it should have cleared cache, didn't it? Uh-oh, I broke it. Let's take a look here. Oh yeah, I need to do it like this. Tempest. Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, my I need to do something with this. I need to fix this. I know how to fix it. It's like no problem, but I need to manually clear the cache somewhere. Where's my cache file? And this is why you should use named routes. No, I mean, in all honesty, that sure, but no. I don't really. This is a caching problem, and I'm just thinking, hey, there should be a cache folder here, and there isn't. Why isn't there? Why isn't there a cache folder? But does it have to do with not being up to date? That might be the problem. Oh yeah, I did some changes right yesterday on stream. Oh, it's still indexing. Okay, that's a problem. Let's fix this. Tempest, no, console application, boot, run, just like this. That should work. Okay. But then why? Oh no, I'm stupid. This is something that we need to fix as well, but the cache is here in vendor. Let me okay, manually clear that cache and then redeploy. Let's see whether it works. So vendor framework, but Tempest framework. Like so. Actually make their cache. No, that's not needed. That's not needed. Let's see whether it works. So let's add this update. Oh, and we need to public index. We need to update this. No, we don't. No, this is the wrong one. Public index. Yeah, we need to update this one as well. So HTTP application boot, and then we need to root over here, like so. Run. Okay. It's gonna work. No worries. Oh, it's already working again. I haven't deployed yet, but yeah. Okay. So fix, push, and deploy. Now it should work. I do need to figure out a better way to handle that caching. That is a problem. So let's make an issue for that. So whenever a controller actions name is changed, the discovery cache becomes corrupt. Also happens for everything that's cached. But there's an easy fix there. I feel that shouldn't be that big of an issue. But I don't think it's a good argument against for named routes against controller routes. It's just something I messed up, basically. So yep, that all works again. We're back. So thank you, Jolie Code, for like the thought-provoking article. That's great. One thing I wanted to mention before we actually start coding is this one. I don't know if you've seen it already, but we're gonna use PHP 8.4 at least, and I've got 3 reasons to do so. Like for Tempest, right? Because the first one is pretty important one. We just want to use property hooks, and so if we just wait for a couple years and then introduce property hooks like on the interface, right? And we have a huge breaking change. And I also wrote about how I think it's a good way to push the community a little bit. People were angry with this point. But also, like, having PHP 8.4 at the initial start of Tempest will create some kind of filter so that less people will use it, and I think that's a good thing at the start. And so I just wanted to mention that if you weren't aware of that yet, those are the 3 reasons here. Now we'll do some coding, right? 2 things I want to do today, and there are decisions to be made. Like, these are no technical problems. Like, I can solve these in a couple of minutes, but there are some important decisions to be made. I'll show the first problem here. So this is a discovery class in Tempest. What happens if something goes wrong here? Throw new exception, nope. So, let's over here. Let's go to our, hang on. Let's actually do it like this. Let's remove this. And okay, yeah, we're here, Tempest serve, right? So this is just, okay, this is Tempest. Now we throw an exception and we end up in this screen. Now, let me show you what happens if we actually don't know what routes, home control. Oh, here it is called home controller. Let me throw an exception in the controller, right? Throw new exception home. So, oh, I thought it would do something else. Apparently it doesn't. It should. Oh, well, wait, hang on. Don't end. I know what's happening here. Let's go to my index over here, and then enable exception handling true. Is this still disabled? Let's see, app config. Yeah, okay, it's still disabled. Whoops. So, no, this is the wrong one. Hang on, the home controller. Throw a new exception. Let's hope it works. Yeah, okay. So, if you throw an exception from within the anything within the framework, basically within the application that's running, you get this screen. It's not super nice, but it works. If you throw something before Tempest is fully booted, you get this. And the reason why this happens, it's super simple, of course, but HTTP application, right? So we boot Tempest, then we do some configuration, and only here do we add our exception handlers. You can add multiple. And so this is an issue because it means that anything that goes wrong before here, it will not show a fancy page. Now that's easy to solve, right? Just wrap everything here in a try-catch. Try and then catch anything here, throwable, and try. Hang on, like this. And then we just render a fancy exception, right? That's not a problem. I can even now dump the exception, and okay, so that's not a problem. We can hook into that. The problem is that our current exception handlers, so there's the HTTP exception handler and the console exception handler. It they require a booted framework. They require the container. They require dependencies from the container. They interact with, like, via the console, interact with, yeah. So yeah, basically they write things to the log. Okay, so that's a problem, right? Because we don't have Tempest available at this point. We don't have a container. Well, we might have a container, but like things might have gone wrong somewhere. Well, for example, during discovery, right? And then the container cannot be booted. So long story short, we need exception handling that's totally framework independent, basically. And there are solutions. I just don't know whether I want to have like a lot of dependencies, but I think for now it's better to have some dependencies than to, you know, have a very crappy exception. Right? You don't want this. This is super stupid to debug, and actually, like during the framework development, it happens very often. Not very often, but whenever an exception occurs, it's usually before the framework is fully booted. So we need something better. So I've been thinking about this. What do I want to do? And I think for now, I just want to use something existing. And we need 2 exception handlers, one for console and one for web. So Ignition is really nice. It's kind of also advertising Flare, but it works without Flare. So I know Spazi and they build great stuff. So I think I want to add Ignition for web requests, and then I want to use Collision, which is the same thing Laravel uses, Collision. En uno Maduro Collision. Right? And even though it adds some dependencies, I think it's better to do it this way. For now, at least, because I can write something totally framework independent, but you know, it doesn't really look all that great. Oh, I removed it. So let's take a look again. Home controller. I mean, I wrote this on another stream in an hour, and this is a project on its own, and I don't feel like it's important enough to dive into it so deeply that it will take another days or weeks to get fully set up, while there are 2 good alternatives here. So I want to play around with that. I don't think it will be all that difficult. It will just be composer require Spazi Ignition, and composer require Collision. Although I don't understand why Collision is a dev dependency here, because you also want it in production, I reckon. No, I know why this is. This is on the project level. But if you look at Laravel framework, it has it as it should have it as a normal dependency, right? Oh, it doesn't. There will be some kind of dependency somewhere. Laravel, because this is the framework. Let's see. Collision, but this is required dev. But that's because this is like the project scaffold, right? Does that mean like on Laravel applications there's no proper error handling on production websites? I actually don't know. There might not be. Okay. I'm just gonna keep it as a normal dependency for now, but we might need to improve on that then later. So couple of things we'll need to do in order to get this to work. So let's remove this try catch. And whenever we boot an HTTP application, we want ignition to boot. So let's say ignition. Well, actually, we can also use Tempest boot here. And yeah, I think this is better because we want to be able to always have an error handler. So let's see, ignition is just this basically. So let's do this. Do this, right? Now when something happens and I need to remove my own error handlers here. Does this work? No, it doesn't, because HTTP app. Oh, it's over here, right? Let's remove this. We don't need this anymore. And then throw. I do want like our own custom exception handler still. And now, okay, now it's ignition. I think this is nicer. Yeah, this is a lot better. So, but now people can still add exception handlers to their exception handling stack, right? And I might need to then actually move this to a higher level, because let's look at console application. Yeah, it does exception handling somewhere else actually. Does it over here? I actually don't know. Hang on a second. Console application handler exception. No, actually we need this. It sets it here for each. Oh, it does so in a middleware. That's right. So let's remove this. Let's just say throwable over here, and then we'll move all of this logic to. Oh yeah, we can do this. We can move all of this logic away from here as well. I mean, can move it to a higher level in Tempest, right? No, actually, well, there are 3 places where we need to. Actually, let's totally remove it for now. No. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna keep this as duplicate code for now. And then we'll see how we can improve it later on. Let's inject app config here. Private app config. Like so. Yeah. Okay, that's good. And then, but we'll need to do the same. No, we don't have to do the same over here, because here, well, I'm not sure yet. So, okay, this is from the home exception, so home controller, but let's remove this one and let's see what happens when we throw this one. It also ends up in ignition, I should say. So that's better, I feel. That is that's a lot nicer already. And the next step is to because yeah, now we have, like, see what happens when you so this is the ignition code, right, being handled, like dumped in the console. So in case we're running the console, we need another thingy. So we need collision, right? So if server argv else So this is within a console context. And how does this work? Like so. And what happens now? Whoa! It just works. Yeah, this is, I mean, this is better. It is better. I did like my console, my own console render better actually, but now it works now every time. So that's good. Because let's see here. Actually, I have a failing command. I think grep fail. Oh, actually, fail. Yeah. Oh, this is actually. Hang on a second. This is a good a good demonstration, because app config container get app config class, like so. Let's check whether there are any. Yeah. Oh, app config container get app config. That's good. And then the final one, like so. Okay, now, yeah, this command doesn't fail. The fail, I don't know. Where's fail? Fail. Fail command over here. I was searching the wrong. Throw. Oh no. But there are, yeah, I think there are some collisions here actually. Fail symbols. Fail command. Yeah, there is a collision here. Fail real. Oh no. It's still, I don't know how this, why this, yeah. Anyway, let's check chat here. I wonder, as a developer, would I have been able to register ignition and collision myself as exception handlers? No. No. It's like really hard coded now. Oh, what am I doing? So this might suck. This should probably be more configurable, is what you're saying, right? I actually don't know, like, how does Laravel does it. Yeah, I actually do know, because we've already checked it. But Laravel, they have it in the project scaffold, right? They have collision here, and well, they now removed ignition, so it's in the framework, but it's booted in on the project level. It's my guess. Let's check it out. Let's see here. So collision. It should, hang on a second. Nuno Maduro collision provider. It should be somewhere, right? Because the framework. Maybe I should do composer up. Yeah, over here. No, that's the collision yeah, it's a service provider. And then this one is used where? it's indexing. It could be that collision detects Laravel. That could be the case. But I just reckon that like this service provider will be yeah, used somewhere or not. Okay. Collision. So, but even though, like, there are, I'm not gonna dive too deeply into this because there are simple solutions for this, right? I mean, I could make some kind of interface that you can add in the app config here, and where you say something like exception handler initializer, something like this, and it's a class you can pass that like, hang on, does this. It's an easy fix. Actually, let's do that, right? But first I want to remove this. So exception handling, go away. We don't need that anymore. That was like really temporary, actually. And by the way, yeah, things will probably break now because I do have some tests that look for exceptions. But it will probably be easy to adjust. PHP send is slow today. Let's go. Okay, yeah, so that's one failing, and I expect there to be another failing test for the console as well. Or not. So that's easy to fix. What's the contents here? Oh no, just stop. The exception is just thrown because Tempest boot is probably not called, right? Yeah, that's the case. So okay, so basically this test should go away because it won't work anymore. And then we're gonna ignore the problem for now. So enable exception handling can be gone, and then we'll say public should be a string or an instance. Well, let's do an instance. Let's say we need like exception handler initializer. Should be an interface. And it should just have a method initialize void, right? Exception handler initializer like this, and then we'll assign a default value to it. Generic exception handler initializer. I might like improve this initializer a little more, but for now, and then we move all of this to here. That's easy enough. And let's say new generic exception handler initializer. Yeah. And then we can say we might not have an app config here. So that's a downside. Now we need an app config before we can initialize our exceptions. App config initialize like this, right? Uh-oh. Ah, yeah, hang on. This is in my generic exception handler initializer now. Like so. Oh. And let's throw an exception. Let's go away, go away, go away. Let's go discovery. Throw new exception. Flare. Okay, cool. And it's here. I was just asking because I was curious. I didn't intend for you to change your approach. Well, okay, but no, but it was a good question, Sergio. So thank you. What's your opinion on... Oh, Mike, you're asking... okay, what's your opinion on Uncle Bob's saying, don't marry the framework? Should an application be tightly coupled to frameworks like Laravel or Tempest, or should you always build an abstraction layer? It depends. Let's look at this from the reality, right? And not from a theoretical point of view. How many companies do you know use a framework and they can switch their whole code base? They can just remove the framework and with a day's work, switch to another one. Like, not many. So the majority of companies are making projects that are very tightly coupled to frameworks. Okay, next question. From those huge amount of companies that are using tight coupling to frameworks, do all of them fail? No, there are very successful companies, very successful projects. So actually, for me, that's like you can say whatever you want in theory and it sounds nicer, but in practice, I mean, I worked at Spatie. There was no way we could just switch to Symfony from one day to another. Did it matter? No, we made great projects. Clients paid for it. And they were happy. No one cared. So, yeah, okay. Don't marry the framework. Sure. It comes with a lot of overhead. Like layers in between. Layered architecture. And there might be some use cases for it. If you intend to actually change your framework every 2 years, then it might be a good decision to not marry the framework. But apart from that, embrace it, I would say, because you're gonna get so much time gain from it. And frameworks are kind of like, the reason frameworks exist, or most frameworks exist, is because they want you to embrace it. It makes your life so much easier. Frameworks are just shortcuts, right? So that you don't have to spend 2 years writing the same amount of code yourself. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. I think, yeah, it depends, but in most cases, just marry a framework. These are very theoretical arguments, and in theory they make sense, but in practice, I mean, if there was a good case to be made to not marry the framework, then I think a lot of companies would have failed already, and they don't. So that's my answer. Okay, so we have our initializer thingy here. I don't really like the name initializer because we're already using that for something else. Maybe we should just call it exception handler setup. Maybe that's better, right? And then in app config, exception handler setup. Let's do it like this for now. I think this is good. I think I'm happy with this for now. It means that we get better exception handling much like earlier in the framework boot process. So that's nice. And yeah, our tests work. which is kind of worrisome. Let me actually check console exception. I do have a test for this. But I manually set up this exception handler. So this test doesn't really do anything anymore, but so Sergio, you're asking Sergio, I don't know, but how are you supposed to achieve what Uncle Bob is saying? How to use the framework's storage system indirectly? No, but you add abstractions. You add layers in between. You basically build your own wrapper, and you can, like, which can communicate with Laravel, and then another you have an abstraction layer, right? That just is used by your application, and then you make implementations for it. One for Symfony, one for Laravel if you want to, and you just you map everything via that layer basically. And if you need to change your framework every 2 years for a variety of reasons, then that's a very good thing to do. So yeah. So what I'm a little worried about is testing. Because like I still have this implementation now, which will never be used. But I need to think about it some more. Because it will be good to have like framework level exception handlers that will send to error trackers, that will write to log files, stuff like that. So I want to keep this concept, but I will have to refactor these implementations. And I'll do that at another point, because I'm already happy with what we have now. So refactor to use ignition and collision. By the way, why isn't there like an exception handler in PHP that does both, like console and web? I don't really understand. So this is good. Now onto the next one. A kind of design question. And that's this issue over here. Making configuration discoverable. And so let me explain how this, like, discovery in general, we looked at yesterday as well. So what Tempest will do is discovery, bootstrap. There are these, the event bus discovery. There are these classes. They get a list of all files in the project, including vendor files whenever it makes sense. They can like loop over all of these files classes usually and determine whether they want to do something with it, right? Determining whether a class, for example, has a public method that has the attribute event handler. And if that's the case and some other conditions here, then it will be registered as an event handler in the event bus config, right? And that's how discovery works. The problem is configuration, because config files, so by default, let's see here. Where are these? Oh yeah, they are moved to, like, there are config classes. Oh, app config was a good one, actually. App config, we made some changes there. These are very simple classes. They just have data in them. And the idea is that config in Tempest is just, it's done in PHP, and you just create an instance of app config and you provide whatever kind of things you want, right? There's a route config, static route config, view config. And most of these config files, you don't need to make them because, you know, they are populated by discovery. They are created for you, and there are only rare cases where you want to create them manually. A good example of where you want to have one is the database config, right? Oh, no, yeah, database config. This is like the database config, and for now it only has one parameter here. It needs a database connection class, which, you know, there's MySQL connection, Postgres, and SQLite connection, right? Okay. The way Tempest discovers these custom config objects is whenever a user creates a config directory, right? And then let's actually go to database over here. Like the config directory database.php. This is wrong here. Anyway, doesn't matter. You return an instance of database config, and you can write whatever you want in it, right? You can provide all the values you need. Okay, so in this case, we have a database config. It uses SQLite connection with this path. Good. Now, the thing is, everything in Tempest is discovered automatically, except for config files. They need to live in the config directory. And the reason for that is that this is not a class. This is just a plain PHP file that returns a config object, right? So for now, and this is what I want to refactor, there's this config bootstrap, which is totally separate from discovery. And Tonko, you're saying it's not okay. Shouldn't these files were like non-PHP files, but I'm sure you took care of that. Back to config bootstrap. So config bootstrap, what it will do is it will loop over all discovery locations, which are like the things Tempest discovered, like the vendor packages, your source directory here, or your app folder, or whatever. There are many. And it will, like for now, search for these hard-coded config and then PHP files in them. And then for each of them, we'll loop over them, we'll require the file, and then it returns an object. I might need to do some extra checking here, but that's okay. And then it registers the config file in the container. Okay, and so what I want to get rid of is this requirement here, so that it doesn't have to live in the config directory. I want it to be able to live everywhere. And I want to brainstorm some ideas for that, because I don't really know what the best approach is. So something that happens a lot in Tempest is that you have like an attribute, right? Config, for example. And then you could detect it, but you cannot add attributes to return, like you cannot add it here, I think. Can you? No, yeah, well, yeah, PHP Storm is not giving auto-completion because you cannot. So yeah, that's kind of an issue. There's one solution I can come up with, and maybe let's just implement it and see like whether it makes sense or not. So let's go to core here, and instead of config bootstrap, let's remove this one. So now everything will break, of course. Yeah. Let's actually keep it, because we'll need to be able to. Let's do a return here, so not load any config, right? And now there are issues because we're not registering our config files. And where does this happen? In see, like my console application exception handler allowed for clicking here, which I don't. Okay. Anyway, so this is in discovery bootstrap, which is fine because we'll add our config discovery here. So let's explore it, right? So let's create a file here, config discovery implements discovery. Actually use, no, let's not do that. Let's for now return false. And then void, 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 that's fine. Let's not do any caching for this. And yeah, we won't have a class here that we're discovering. So we're not gonna do anything here. But we also have a discovers path interface that if there's no class, it will allow this discovery to discover, yeah, the file basically. And let's see here. We need this one to, let's go to the kernel. So we find out our location bootstrap, right? Let's actually just comment this out. It's much easier. We want to do our config bootstrap, and then we, with our location discovery locations in place, we go into our discovery bootstrap. And I reckon this is where things go wrong, right? So this app config, let's do LD. Why did I write DE? Okay, so these are our locations. These are all the places the Tempest will scan. And so there's a core as well, which includes this config bootstrap. But we need the config bootstrap to happen first, right? So what happens here, will loop over all discovery classes, which are so there's only one here now, but this one will fill the array with other discovery classes, right? So this one will discover discovery classes, but we need config discovery to be here as well. So we need to add it here. So config discovery class. And we also need, we need to check if in array this app what's the first argument, class get name this app config, because we don't want duplicate discovery classes here. Return. So let's see. We'll loop over our discovery classes. The first one will fill the array with all discovery classes, and I can show that. Let's see here if this let's do it like this. Yeah, it will write a lot of things, but so discovery, config, and then all the other discovery classes, right? So that's good. And I might need to remove this one. That's our config discovery, and it's getting paths. And now, so if I'm not mistaken, database.php, yeah, it's in here as well, right? It's here. So now we need to determine whether we this file actually contains a config object or not. And how are we gonna do that? That's the question, right? What we could do very easily is but this is if not string ends with path PHP will return, then we'll try to object include path, right? We catch anything, and we'll just return, right? And then we can write, let's dump these objects out. Yeah, now require once. Actually, we need. But now it's loading a lot of things, right? These are components. Here's our database config. So we could do something like if object instance of config, for example, then we can register it as config. Then we need to introduce a config interface, but That way we we have like all the like the user doesn't have to do anything. It will work. But what I'm afraid of is in requiring once all the files, all the PHP files, also the ones that aren't config. And the only solution I can come up with is to have like a like Adrian is saying, do it like PHP unit. File has to end with config, right? To rely on a naming convention, which I really don't like, because that's not an improvement. It's already doing that. These are the files that have to live in the config directory. So I don't really like this. But what else is there? What else can we do? So let's go back to our database. .php here. So ideally this would be a class, right? Because then we don't have to load all the paths. Then Discovery will just pick it up, because Composer has a list of all available classes in the project already. But yeah, how, like, what would that look like? Then we would be something like project database config extends database config, something like this. And then we have to make it. So this also kind of sucks, right? And then you say construct, and then you just say parent connection. Oh, we can just copy this. This also sucks. No? So yeah, that's what I need your input on, by the way. Just this is the time to start writing in chat, explaining to me what I should do. So this is the benefit of Composer picking it up, and thus Tempest can pick it up, which means that if we go to our config discovery, we can implement this method here, and we don't have to do any of this, right? That would be nice. However, it sucks for the user, I feel. I think this is a lot cleaner, just a lot less hassle. But then we have to rely on this. And all our config objects should implement an interface. Actually, let's add it, because whatever happens, whatever we choose, we need this interface. Or actually, let's make it an attribute, config class. Attribute target class, like this. And then let's go to our config thingies. Oh, all our config implementations. Command bus config, like this. Make it. So Adrian, you're saying I like the class, but don't extend, just make it like an action or so. What do you mean like an action? So now we need to go through all of these, by the way, to find out. Config and scheduler config is the one I need as well. Oh, that's over here. Scheduler. Like so. Container. There's no container config. Core. App config. Like this. App config is, by the way, it's a special one because it already exists. Database config, like so. Debug doesn't have anything. Event bus config, like so. Framework shouldn't have anything anymore. Over here is we have route config, and then static route config, route config. Static route config. A view config as well. Oh yeah, that's over here. Oh no, that's actually this config file is in the wrong place. View config over here. Like so. When a user defines his customized config with the return approach now. Yeah, I don't really see what you're meaning. But see, let's go back to our config discovery for a moment. So instead of doing this, we'll say if new class reflector over object has attribute config, oh, hang on, then we'll we can dump it out. Okay. I think so. Can't you just use composition there? So what? I don't know if this is what you mean, but what if we did something like this? Return config database config. But then we would still need to, like, if you rely on return, you have to parse all the files. Yeah, Tonko, you're talking about, like, okay, so just quick switch here. Do we need to rename the database PHP file to like something like database.example.php? It's actually gonna be fixed, I think. No, because like Tempest will detect these as well. And the way I did that, and I don't know why it's reverted, but I just removed the PHP extension. I don't know why that changed, because I think now in CI everything will be SQLite, because that's the last database. This will be the file that's being used, and not MySQL. But that's something for another time. Wrap it in a class. See, I'm not sure what to do here. Maybe the best approach is to go to the issue and discuss it some more, because I'm not really a fan of both, like of having to require all the PHP files here. I don't think that's stupid. So yeah, I don't know what's the better approach. But thanks everyone for thinking along. So I actually wonder, like, does this work? What we could do here, let's say so inject a container like so, and then we would say this container config. Oh yeah, and because like, so it does work, but we're doing require once, and there is like, so if string ends with .view.php, we need to see this is just messy. And okay, then now what? Where is this coming from? Let's see. Form. Oh, this is actually. Oh yeah. Naming conventions, right? That's what we started out with. I don't know the right solution here. Yeah, it's this is messy. So now we need to like start, right? Ob end, something like this, and then it should work, or not. Ob end flush. So this sucks. No, not object. Output. And ob get and clean. That's what I think we want. Or not, I don't know. Anyway. Maybe like the answer is like necessary evil. We need to rely on naming conventions. And then we'll just keep the config directory. I mean, it doesn't really matter to come up with something else. Then the config directory is as good as anything. Yeah, okay. I feel a little stuck by it. It is what it is. Yeah, if you want to like share your opinion here, let me paste it in chat. There you go. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I think I'm gonna end here for today. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. That helps out. And yeah, we'll see each other in the next stream. I still think it was productive, but like haven't figured it out. It's also kind of frustrating because of that. But we'll see. Yeah, it's not like super bad, but just leaves me a little bit unsatisfied with it. So yeah, okay, folks, have a good day. Enjoy your work, and we'll see each other in the next one. Okay, bye bye.